So Jenna, welcome. We are live now.
Hi. Oh, I'm so excited.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I mean, the whole family is a little bit ill, so I thought I need to cancel again.
Oh
The
no.
but everything's okay. My son is really ill. He has 40 degrees fever,
Oh
but
my
it's
God.
okay. But it's okay. I think we are going to manage, and I think we don't need to cancel it. But you never know. So let's see. But everything is fine. I'm happy. I'm really counting the days to the Agile Testing Days,
Yeah.
and everything is good. So I'm drinking tea today because I'm
Okay.
not allowed to drink any alcohol today.
Oh, well, it's still the middle of my workday, so water.
Oh, okay, that's good. What time is it there?
It is 2:06 p.m.
Hmm. Okay, oh, nice,
So
nice.
1400. Is that
Mhm.
right? I am not good at 24-hour time.
Okay, that's good. So, um, I know you already for I think 4 or 5 years,
Mhm.
something like that. I think so, and we have met also for 4 or 5 years, for five
Mhm.
times, I think. And when I see you, I see a self-confident, quite intelligent person, funny, very friendly, strong. You are a strong person, and I like it. I like it very much. That's why I invite you because I like. It's well known that I like strong person. You know,
Thank you.
and this, yeah. But this is the view from outside.
Yeah.
You know, how's
Um,
your view of yourself?
oh, that's complicated.
I
Oh
know.
boy. So, what's interesting is that people have this perception that
Mhm.
struggle creates strong people. And I think sometimes it does. And I think sometimes it really doesn't. And I think for me, the complexities of trauma and having a really complicated and difficult childhood and as an adult relationship with family has led to me developing a lot of tools to keep myself safe and to be the person that I want to be. Because inside, that confidence isn't often there. It's not that I don't believe that I have value or anything like that, but it can be very hard to turn off those negative voices. And if you really pay attention, and years of therapy, but if you really pay attention, you can identify whose voice it is that you hear in your head. And sometimes it's your voice, and sometimes it's someone else's voice. And I've learned and I've developed the tools to when I hear the voice that is really damaging to me, I've developed the tools to be able to say, and I'm gonna be honest, mom, shut up. You're wrong. You're wrong about me. That's not who I am. And so I've learned to tell that voice to be quiet. Now, you know, is it easy? No. No, it takes years and it's not something that you'll ever fix. It'll always be there. But you become a stronger person when you develop the tools and the strategies to be able to say voices, external, all of that. You're wrong about me. I know who I am and I have value.
Yeah, but it's a
But there's
long way. It's a
oh
long
yeah.
way. It's a long way there. I mean, as you said, struggles
Mhm.
sometimes makes you strong, sometimes breaks you, and um, and and I think that few people get it done. Of course, you are fighting all the time to be there, but there are many people that are really broken. And the thing is, when from my point of view of my experience, when you get to know these people who are a little bit broken and you see that they are not self-confident and so on, and you see all the values that these people have and they are not able to use it because they got broken, and this is really a pity. And um, and um, and to um, um, to accompany them the way that, so that they get a little bit more trust is is nice, but also painful to see how they are struggling and so on. And yeah, that's interesting.
It's also, so not only is it painful, but when you meet people who are going through those kinds of things, it's really important that we learn not to take their decision making personally. I have had friends who have said, I love you and I think you're a great person, but you represent a time in my life that I need to walk away from. And so it's not that there was a rift. It's not that they didn't like me anymore, but they said, there was a time in my life where you were central to helping me get better, but now you're a reminder of when things were bad, and I have to walk away from all of that. And so you can't take it personally. You have to say, okay, you are doing what you need to do to take care of you, and I respect that and I honor it. And you let me know if there's a time when you're ready to come back to things. But that's the extra hard part, is like, we see them struggle and we see that pain, and then we have to accept the decisions that they make around it.
Of course. I mean, we all go our way, and there's not always straight and the same for other people, and everybody struggle with the life. And I think that there is no person carrying packages on the shoulders. There is no one. Some of them, the packages are bigger, some of them are smaller, but all of us are carrying things with us. And this is a thing. For me, when I think 3 years ago, you change your pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
How was the process for that?
So this is the therapy. I had never really, I shouldn't say that. I hadn't really thought about my relationship to gender since I was a teenager. As a teenager, I was very gender nonconforming. I actually did a lot of very traditionally feminine things. I was in theater, I sewed, like I made costumes, but I just didn't like relate to my body as a woman. And so like I just dressed very androgynous and that kind of thing. And my mother was like, I have a daughter, not a son, blah, blah, blah. And like androgyny doesn't mean son, by the way. Like androgyny isn't masculine, it's neither. But I really just kind of like pushed that down and just said, okay, well, whatever, and kind of moved on with things. But I definitely like performed gender for most of my life. And then in therapy, I had a new therapist, and she asked me to give her words that define me. And I said a lot of things like sister and aunt and wife. And she kept asking me for more and more and more. And I said, I don't think I have any more words that define me. She said, never once did you say you're a woman. I was like, well, that's weird. And she goes, well, I don't think it's weird. She's like, but I think it's something you need to think about. She's like, you relate. She's like, you gave a lot of descriptors of how you relate to other people, but not how you relate to you. So I spent a lot of time thinking about it, unpacking it, journaling it, praying about it. And I just came to the realization, I was like, I'm not a woman. That's not who I am. But I had always just kind of pushed it down and not thought about it. And I have to admit, I'm really envious of people who are teenagers now, because they are allowed to explore these things and understand themselves in a way that I wasn't. But yeah, so it was kind of an all at once moment where somebody else pointed it out to me. But the funniest thing is that I told my friend Tatiana first. And I recently resigned my spot as a deacon, because I just, unfortunately, my schedule doesn't allow me to serve the way I want to. But Tatiana was a deacon with me, and we are very, very close. And I told her, and she goes, yeah, I already knew that. What do you mean you already knew that? And she goes, yeah, I figured that out about you years ago. I was like, oh, well, apparently you should have told me, because I didn't know. But she was like, you're not telling me something that's surprising. And as I told more friends, they all said, yeah, that fits. That's you. but I was the last to know.
That's very nice, and I think that's important that at some point you take a decision for yourself and
Mhm.
what do you want to be. And as you said, the youth today is totally different, and I see in my older child, and that they explore, and that's good. And I think this is important that they because it takes time, and I mean. For myself was not the case,
Mhm.
and but I am not the important one, so you know e- everybody can do what they want, so I don't really care in the sense that
Yeah.
it's your life and you can decide what you want, and I think this is important. And yeah, how was that for your family, for your husband? They said, okay, we knew, or
So it's interesting. My sister knows. I have made a conscious decision not to have the conversation with my father about it. Um, Family dynamics and stuff. Our relationship is a little bit surface. And it's just easier that way.
mm,
Um, and I think my Aunt Pam has figured it out. She's the only one. Her and my sister are the only ones who have access to Facebook, like my Facebook, because I have like, just so you all know, like I had like thousands of friends on Facebook, and one day I just said I'm overwhelmed by this. But I have family members who only use Facebook to communicate. My sister likes to use Facebook to communicate and post pictures of my niece. Um, and my Aunt Pam, who lives in San Francisco, that's how she kind of communicates her life. So I said, well, I can't really get rid of it. So I said, I'm going to close my original, and I started a new one. And I think I have like 45 friends. And so those folks are the only ones who are not like close friends or Twitter. And I guess LinkedIn knows too. All right. So they're the ones who are my physical, like in person friends that know. Um, but yeah, so my family is a complicated mix of like knowing and not knowing. Um, but that's okay because I very rarely experience dysphoria, which is really a really beneficial thing for me that I don't really. I think because I look at this as a very very personal thing, and it has very little to do with how the external world views me. Now, other people have different feelings about that. Other people need the external world to relate to them in the way they feel
yeah.
they are, or the way they are, I should say.
Yeah.
I just have a different relationship with reality. So that's probably what it is. Um, but so I'm very lucky that it doesn't bother me. Now, Bob, my husband, I was like so anxious about telling him because I knew that this didn't just redefine me and maybe redefine the way we relate to each other, but also a little bit redefines the way he relates to himself. Um, because he does identify as a heterosexual cisgender male because he is. Um, and so when I told him, he goes, okay. And I was like, do you have any feelings about this? He goes, no. He's like, if this is what you've realized you are, and he's like, and it kind of fits anyway, it feels like it fits. He's like, good with me. He's like, what do you want me to call you? And I was like, okay, call me your spouse. And he's like, okay, good with that. And that was it. He was so. I am beyond lucky in the universe connecting the two of us. Like, and there are days when I'm like, you drive me nuts. But he is so um, open to new thinking and new experiences as far as the way people view each other. And
Yes.
he really cares that people are allowed to be their authentic self. Um, and things that upset me really upset him. And that's a big win. Because
Yeah,
like
of
if
course.
yeah, relationships that don't share values are really
Yeah.
difficult.
I think for myself, I think that if I think I will not tell much people. I think I will keep that for my own, because I in that sense, and I am really a strange person that I don't need the world outside. So even when I was a young man, when I
Mhm.
went out for parties or for things, whatever I did, I did it always alone. I was always alone. I was really um, alone. So there is no and I could have I could be with boys or with girls, and no one is going to know that. So
Mhm.
yeah, because I didn't want that the people know what I am doing. And the same for me is, for example, if I would now think, okay, I like men, for
Mhm.
example, and I will not tell anyone. I will live my life, and I will, maybe my, of course, my people next to me, whatever, they will notice
Yeah.
that, but I will not um, put it in because I think there is a lot of people that they don't care about my life, and they don't should not know that. It's safe. But that's me. But I have
Yeah.
a very close friend, let's say in that way, and he just yell it out. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said to him, why do you do that? Yeah, because he has the need to tell the people that I'm not what you expect. I am something else, and that's okay for me, and that's why I'm yelling out. I said, okay, that's fine, but okay. But, so everybody's doing what they want. And that's, I think this is the important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we all have different ways that we relate to the world and different ways that we relate to other people. And it's all so incredibly interconnected and
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah. One thing that I, for me, because I didn't know that, is your your point with the religion. So tell me a little bit about that. How do you see yourself there?
So that's a really big topic.
Yeah.
So background, I was raised in a Jewish home. My parents are both Jewish, my grandparents are Jewish. Like it wasn't until my generation, so me, my sister, and my cousins, on either side of my family, moms and dads, married outside of the faith or
Okay.
dated outside of the faith. And actually, a lot of my cousins are married to Jews. Um, I became a Christian a little bit after I got married. My husband's agnostic. He wasn't raised with any religion. So this has very little like impact on him. Yeah, he never went to church with me or anything. But I became a Christian after I got married when I was having this I should have been like the happiest I could be. Like things were great. I had a my career was really starting to develop. I just got married to Bob and I were together for 8.5 years by the time we got married. Like I
Wow.
married the person that I was deeply, deeply in love with that is my best friend, that kind of thing. So like everything should have been great. And I felt really empty and alone. And I just couldn't figure it out. And I thought about some friends who have this kind of inner joy. Like things could be falling apart. And it doesn't mean that they were happy, but they also had this like deep well of like something that they could go to that brought them some feeling of hope and like that things will get better and they coped with things in a different way than I did. And so I just kind of like threw it to the wind and I said, what do I do? I went to church with one of them one day. And like I remembered how deeply I felt connected to faith as a kid. Only when like my parents were not into it. Like they took us to temple because they felt like they were supposed to, but I was like, I want to go. I wanted to go to religious school, like all that kind of stuff, and I was the only one. And all of that came back, and I was like, okay, this feels really good. And then there was this joy. The way people worshipped had this joy and this happiness to it. And like I talked to this woman who said, "Yeah, I'm losing my house, but the church is helping me." And I was like, "You seem so positive about this." And she's like, "Well, I've got a place to go. I've worked out an apartment. I'm moving my stuff out. I've accepted what's happening. I've got people around, I've got a community around me who's supporting me and helping me through this. And things will get better." She's like, I could wallow in it, or I could accept that this is what things are and that there's a new path. And this was like unreal to me that somebody could have that kind of peace. with something so outside of their control and so awful. So I just kept exploring it. And I tried a lot of churches, but being, pretty left, I was not going to settle for somewhere that, while it fulfilled me on a spiritual level, didn't fulfill me on a emotional level, meaning that their values didn't match mine. And so some people that I went to high school with actually are all members at this church that I joined, that until recently I was a deacon at, but I am still a member, South Euclid United Church of Christ. And progressive, like they are open and affirming, so they embrace gay marriage. There are other deacons who are queer. There are people who are varying genders, racially diverse. Big fact for people in the US, the most segregated time in the US is Sunday morning. The most segregated population is Christian. So white Christians tend to go to one church. Other Christians, people who are not white, tend to go to others. And it even segments more, and you see churches divided by racial lines. But my church, I am in the minority. And that was really cool. And like, I loved the gospel music and I loved the praise music, and that was fun too. But also, like, it just, my values fit. The people are great. Their relationship to whatever you want to call God, the God creator, the universe, I'm a universalist, whatever you believe is cool with me, felt so authentic and matched the way that I feel about it. So, and they've embraced me. They are totally cool with all that I am, including, being non-binary and having purple hair and having like, none of that bothers them. The one thing that was really funny was, as I was training to be a deacon over 6 years ago now, I walked into the hospital room of this man, Joe. And Joe Pepe, I told this story at his funeral. And he looks at me and he goes, who are you? And I said, Joe, I'm a deacon at SEUCC, but I know you haven't been able to come to church for a while, so I don't think we've met. I know you've been homebound and now you're in the hospital. And I said, but I'm here on behalf of the pastor, and I'd like to pray with you. And he said, how can you be here on behalf of the pastor? You're a baby. I said, well, I'm the same age as pastor, because we're like a month apart. He goes, oh, okay then. and we kept in contact for a little while. He unfortunately passed away. But it was just, I don't know, it's just a special community, a special place. And it's really hard to explain. I shouldn't say it's hard to explain. It's important to remember that for those of us who are Christian, that we have a ton of privilege. We have a ton of privilege. We are the majority in the US, regardless however anybody feels about, like, saying that they're oppressed. You are not oppressed for your faith if you are a Christian in this country. But two, Jesus is a liberator. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
If Jesus is a liberator, then Jesus is also supposed to liberate us from racism and misogyny and homophobia. Like, that's not who they are, like who he was. It's not who God is. So yeah. Sorry, I totally rambled there.
No,
but
that's good, because I came to this topic because I read a few weeks ago that you want to become again a diacon. When you want to try to run again, or you was thinking about become a diacon at the church again?
No, I stepped down from my position as a deacon. So I served as a deacon for over 6 years.
Okay, then maybe okay.
That's okay.
So no worry. So your family is Jewish and so on. Have you been in Israel?
Say that for me one more time.
Have you been in Israel?
No, I haven't.
You haven't. Okay.
When I was like 19, I was supposed to go on a birthright trip. And that was canceled and I never got to go. Okay. But also it's very hot and I don't do heat. So I don't know if that's somewhere I'm going.
So maybe in the winter time, Jerusalem is fine. I mean, if you go to the south, then even in the winter time it's going to be a little bit hot. But Jerusalem, and even if you go to Palestine, to Bethlehem, That's very nice for the faith, because it's even for me who I do not believe. I was in Israel and many times, and in Bethlehem also with my family and so on. I think it's a very good experience, and I can only encourage to everyone to go there for holidays, because it's a very nice place. Really, the people is lovely, and the history is amazing. Of course, go also to Palestine to see Bethlehem and the other parts if you have the time and if you're not afraid. But it's safe. This is at the point when I was there was safe. I think something like 10 years ago, something like that. But
I keep threatening my cousins that I'll come stay with them, because I have cousins who live in Israel, Sigi and Yanai. Although I think they're talking about moving to Bali. But yeah, so I keep saying, well, I'm gonna come crash with you. Every once in a while I'll tell them that, and they're like, yeah, sure. And I was like, well, you haven't come to crash with me either, so.
What is a blessing in your life?
A blessing in my life. Ooh.
Besides your husband, of course.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. He's a blessing in my life. But this is going to sound kind of crazy. Tech is a blessing in my life, because stumbling into working in technology, because I definitely stumbled into it. It was not a plan. And finding somewhere that accepted me for who I am, finding a career path that it turned out I love and has lots and lots of ways for me to explore, and that motivated me to finish my college degree, go to grad school, connect me with with wonderful, wonderful people that I'm incredibly blessed to call my friends. All of those things are a blessing in my life, and they wouldn't exist if it wasn't for working in technology.
Yeah, true. I mean, how it start with your career? So you study computer science, or what do you study?
So I took a couple of college classes, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, and then I worked terrible customer service jobs for years. Like, I was a lifeguard, I did all that kind of stuff, and then eventually I worked like in call centers, and I was working for this horrible company that I'm not going to say the name of. I don't want to get myself in trouble, but I worked for a company that is a chain or franchise. I think they're franchised dental practice in the US. So they're all over the US. Okay. And I was in their billing resolution department, which really just meant my job was to tell you, no, your insurance didn't cover that. It's your bill now. And it was a horrible job. Not only because of what I had to do, but also because the people I worked for were terrible. But there was a woman who was temping, and she was a temp there in the morning and a temp at this company called Brand Muscle in the afternoon. And after 2 weeks, she was like, I know Brand Muscle is hiring somebody for their help desk. And they're having a hard time finding someone. I think you'd like it. Can I give them your resume? I'm like, yes, because I'd actually applied there probably 6 times over the period of 5 years and never gotten a call or an email or anything. So she took my resume, handed it to the hiring manager, had a phone call with her the next day, interviewed a couple of days later, and within 2 weeks had a job. Wow. So yeah, it was great. I knew that I would do well there. That's why I kept applying. And just, it took somebody being willing to sponsor me, essentially. And the hard work that I put into these terrible jobs that I didn't want to do, but I continually pushed and learned and continued to grow despite hating them. And then, the luck of meeting the right person. So I worked in the help desk for 8 months, and Trisha, who had hired me, who was my manager, said, I'm worried you're going to get bored. And I'm like, I'm kind of getting bored. So we got to find something more for you to do. And she was like, what do you want to do? And at that time, I thought I wanted to be a business analyst. I thought that their job seemed cool. And she's like, well, you don't really know enough about the tech side yet to be a BA. She's like, let me think about it. And so she came back to me a couple of days later and said, hey, the testing group is hiring. Do you want to apply? I said, yeah, okay, sure. So Rigby was the director and Pratik was the test lead. And I interviewed with them, and boy, did they grill me. But I actually beat out somebody who was already a tester, like who had experience, because they said they felt like I had the right instincts, and that my interview went well, and I knew the product, which is a huge help. And about 6 weeks into being a tester, I went back to Trisha and I said, "Hey, remember how I said I wanted to be a business analyst?" She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "I don't want to do that anymore."
Forget
So this is my thing. Yeah, I said, this is my thing. I like testing. This is great. I'm gonna do this forever. And it's funny because even though I'm not technically a tester anymore, like I'm still in the testing space, because I'm in product for testing. So I think that this will be like my space forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have I discover a game from my children. I don't know if there's something similar
Okay.
in US, and there are some cards, and
Mhm.
they are with questions. They are in
Okay.
German. They are in German, and the names are let's see here, brain nuts. Okay.
Okay.
Hertz questions on the Hertz
Okay.
questions. Then here reflections
Okay.
and mind games.
Okay.
Okay, so I will choose a color. So there is red, yellow, blue, and green, and I will
Okay.
pick any of the questions. I will try to translate that to English.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
Okay. Let's
And you
go.
may answer that.
Yeah.
So which one? Do you want to have one from the heart? Your heart
Okay.
questions or brain nuts? Or we can make ones of each. What do you say? One of each. That's okay.
Let's do one of each. Let's see how this
Okay,
goes.
so choose one. Choose one.
Okay.
Which one?
I'll take that one.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. This one.
Pointing at the screen like you can see me.
So this very, very easy one. Which is your favorite color?
Ooh, yellow.
Yellow. Why?
Yellow has so many different ways that it can be applied. So you've got bright sunshiny yellow. You've got mustard, which is one of my favorites. You've got all sorts of different foods that are yellow. Yellow foods are really good. I don't know, it's just like a happy color. Feels good. But then it can also display less happy feelings.
Do you know I am from the Canary Islands, and yellow is the color there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and when I was a child, and I wanted to have a yellow Porsche. This the color of the Porsche, the yellow color of the Porsche is this Porsche yellow, Porsche Gelb. And many years later, when I could afford to buy one, I didn't. So this is always my story about the yellow color. So, Maria.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go there. Yeah.
So let's go there. So brain nuts. Oh, what happened when you die? When a person die? What happened? What happens when someone dies?
I know what happens in the physical things that happen to the body sense, which is, you get, they do something with you, and you can go back to the earth in some way. I would like to believe that there is something after. That is my belief, but I don't know that. And that's the exciting thing.
Yeah. That's I hope so. But for me, it's always very interesting to see that even people that are not that close to you, and even many years later, that you think about these people in a very nice way. And for me, it's always because in some kind there is a link to this person, and this person, the body is not there, but you still think about this person, and in that way, in my sense, they are still alive in the sense that they are still part of your life because you are thinking about them. And I think that that many people, even if they don't see that, they are they do an impact in the life of other people, and and maybe that's the way how you live after your body is leaving the country, let's say in that way.
My cousins and I have joked that my grandma Shirley will be alive as long as someone in the family is making her recipes. And so everybody has learned to make grandma's food because, let me be honest, my grandma's cooking was really good. But, and actually, funny story. So long before I came around, my grandparents wanted to start a business, and they had some money saved, but not enough to do what they were trying to do. But my grandmother made incredible soups, and she sold a couple of her soup recipes to a local deli. So now when I really want my grandma's mushroom barley soup, all I have to do is go to Jack's Deli, and it's not quite the same, but it's close.
That's okay. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I think with the food, I mean, one thing is the recipe, and the other thing is the love that everybody's giving into the food. And the love may be different, may be better, but normally it's worse.
Food is an act of love. Cooking food is an act of love.
Yeah. So mind games, the blue one.
Okay. Oh, stop. There. Okay. Yep. Let's try that one. Mind games scare me.
Okay. So you are for a day long, let's say transparent. No one can see you. What are you going to do? What do you love to do?
If I was invisible for a day?
Invisible, yeah. If you're invisible, what do you like to do for one day? One day.
Ooh. Oh. That's really hard because there's a lot of things that I would like to do. I think I would want to. Could I pick the day? Do you get to pick the day, or does it have to just be a random day?
It doesn't matter. One day.
Okay. So if I could pick the day, it would be on the day of a Frank Turner concert, and I could go watch from backstage.
Wow. Good.
And
good.
Be really close to my favorite musician.
Yeah.
That sounds really creepy. I don't want to go to his dressing room. I just want to be closer to the stage.
Okay. So now we have reflections.
Okay.
Reflections. So please.
Let's go directly from the middle.
Okay. So. Oh. I said this is for children, okay? Today, I did have fears. Did you have fears today? Do you have any fear today?
Any fear today? Other than potentially KLM or Delta stranding me somewhere? Not really. No, actually, I did have a fear today. So funny story, our neighbors have this horrible tree that is half dead, that is giant. And when we bought our house, we actually offered the previous owners to split the cost of taking the tree down because we thought it was a hazard. And they said no. And then the tree fell on our house. Not all of it, just a big branch of it.
Okay.
But it wound up getting us a brand new roof and new siding paid for by the insurance company. So, it was a hassle, but a win. But today, the new owners were having the tree taken down. And I was pretty afraid that something was coming down on my roof. And I was genuinely afraid because that tree will take out my house with me in it. I was kind of afraid of the giant tree and the people who were haphazardly cutting it down. If
No,
you've ever watched somebody take a big tree down, it's actually kind of terrifying.
yes. Yeah,
Especially when it's like this close to your house.
yeah.
Um,
So you already talked a little bit at the beginning of the talk about that and about your childhood, and this is always an important part in my talks, because I see for myself that we are the result of the childhood.
Mhm.
So how was your childhood?
Messy. So my parents got divorced when I was 4. That's not really the messy part about it. Lots of people's parents split up. And honestly, 4 years old is probably a good time for it to happen because I don't really remember them together. But if I'm being totally honest, I'm pretty sure my mom's mentally ill. I think she's got some sort of personality disorder, and she married a man who has a personality disorder, which I didn't know until therapy as an adult is actually fairly common. And so there's this dynamic that tends to happen in families like mine, where there's a golden child and a scapegoat. And my sister was very much the golden child, and I was the scapegoat. And so that means that I learned a lot of tools to help manage the emotions of the adults in my life because they didn't manage their own. And I was kind of responsible for that somehow. My father was remarried not long after the divorce was finalized. His second wife didn't want kids, didn't like kids, wasn't really interested in my sister and I. So that kind of fractured the relationship with him for like 10 years. Until high school. It was easier for me to overcome than my sister because while I don't remember my parents together, I do know that I was kind of like dad's kid. That like I was closer to him. Everybody's told me that like he and I were really close when I was very little. So when he divorced his second wife and married his third wife, right after the divorce was finalized, my stepmom, his third wife, who hopefully will be his forever wife, always wanted daughters. She had 2 sons, so she was really excited about my sister and I. And of course, I wasn't out yet, and I'm not out to him anyway. But she embraced us right away, so that helped to heal it a little even more. But being ADHD, family trauma, like all of that stuff, childhood was really complicated, and I don't remember a lot of it. And that's definitely like a coping thing. My brain has done that for me. And while I could do like dialectal therapy and try and open those boxes, because I say it's like all packed away in boxes, I don't feel a need to. I can leave them packed away. I'm good because I worry that I'll spiral if I do. But at the same time, connecting with people from my childhood who I'd lost touch with through the magic of social media showed me that while there was a lot of my childhood I don't remember. And I felt like I didn't have friends. There were a lot of people that cared about me and I didn't know it. Like these people that I go to church with that I grew up with. My friend Aubrey was like, "Oh yeah, I loved having you around." I was like, we were in Girl Scouts together and I didn't really know that she even knew who I was. And other people were like, "You were so nice in high school." And I was like, "I was?" Because I thought I was kind of a brat. And they're like, "No, you were great." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, that's cool." I was a little, I kind of thought I was terrible. Because I kind of was a brat. And so it's complicated and it's messy. And there are things about it that I wouldn't trade for the world. Like, I was in Girl Scouts from kindergarten through senior year of high school. And Girl Scouts was a major part of developing who I am as a person. And summer camp through Girl Scouts was the central part of my life. I lived for camp. I couldn't wait to go be dirty for a week in the woods, and go canoeing and kayaking and hiking and all of that kind of stuff. Like I lived for it, and I lived for the people that I got to see there and the relationships that I built there. Um, so yeah, it messy and difficult, and also like we all have complicated, messy childhoods. We learn as adults that our parents are not perfect, and that there's no way that they had a roadmap to know how to raise you.
Yeah, especially, I mean, especially when you are a divorced kid. Okay,
Mhm.
so I think, and I see for also for my children, the biggest one, that they struggle, still struggle. I mean, they have a really a war,
Mhm.
and it was not good for the children, because
Mhm.
they pay the bill. They pay the
Mhm.
bill. That's
Yeah.
the point. And but yeah, that I think the important thing is to understand that this is not your fault
Mhm.
as a kid, and that you are how do you say that in English? You are the one who is suffering the whole thing, that and you cannot do anything. So
Yeah.
the most of the time, because even the government, who should be there to take care of you, they don't care.
Mhm.
They mostly they decide to support one of the parents, and kill the other one. And this is so. But your job was better, not your childhood. Your job was better for you.
Say that for me one more time.
Your job, when you were young, when you were in your when you were a teenager.
Oh, okay. Teenage years were rough.
Your youth,
Yeah.
right?
I moved out when I was 18. I moved out of my mom's house. I got an apartment. My parents helped pay the bill for a long time. Well, like, my dad paid the bill for a long time, and it was my college fund that we used to do it. Because I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have the grades to go to anything but like local college, like Cleveland State or community college, which is fine. They're great schools. Um, but I was not ready to be an adult yet. Um, but as soon as I turned 18 and I moved out, things got better because I didn't have the stuff going on anymore. I got to make some choices for myself. I was away from the harmful, damaging elements, and I got to explore who I really am. Like, so everybody knows I'm pretty big geek. I like nerdy, geeky things. I like fantasy, sci-fi movies. I like board games, and I like role-playing games and video games, and nerdy things like the stuff behind me. I like Legos. I wasn't allowed any of that. Like my mother would have none of it in her house. My mom taught early childhood. She has a master's in some specialized early childhood education. She didn't believe in Lego kits. I could have Legos, but they were not allowed to be Lego kits because the instructions inhibit creativity. I was finally allowed to do that stuff. I hadn't done a Lego set, like an actual Lego set with instructions, until I was in my late 30s. And then I like was head over here. I was like, Legos are great. This is the best thing ever. So once I was allowed to make those choices for myself, life was pretty good. I was broke. I was broke all the time, but life was pretty good.
Yeah. Mm.
Like ramen noodles for a week because I ran out of money. That kind of broke.
Yeah. I mean, my son is always looking for money to buy Lego. He's always asking me, my wife, the grandfather, everybody asking for money just to buy Lego. It's crazy too. It's crazy too. So nowadays, I mean, if you are a little bit politics interested, so we look to America, and yeah. So I don't want to go that deep into that topic, but what is good in America?
Uh, okay, so there are some good things in America.
Yeah, of course, many things.
I'm going to be really polarizing, but Michigan was proof that running on an actual progressive ticket wins elections. So, good things are happening there. I think there were a couple of states that either rejected or embraced, depending on the way the language was worded in the bills. A couple of states that rejected constitutional amendments outlawing abortion. So that's really good. And it was states I didn't expect. I think like one of them may have been like Kentucky. Like states I didn't expect embraced choice. And other states reject or approved bills that legally codify abortion, saying, our state constitution says it's legal. So in both of those cases, those are huge positives. A couple of states have voted yes on bills that outlaw slavery, which is huge because a lot of people don't realize slavery is technically legal in most of the US. It is still legal to compel a incarcerated person to provide labor at no cost. So there are states that have outlawed that, and that's huge. Those kinds of changes, I think, are proof that we are going to move in the right direction. I'm worried about my state, but I think other states are moving in the right direction.
I hope so. Yeah. Because I like the country, and I think that it's scary to see the things, and the world's moving forward, and it's crazy to see old guys trying to stop the world and go back. It's a little bit strange, but
Brazil gives me hope.
So, which question annoys you the most when people do not know you?
What question annoys me the most? Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you have kids? Because it feels like an assumption that I should just have children. I have nothing against children. I don't even have against being asked about it. But there's just this weird assumption that because of my age group, that I've got to have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's seldom that a man get asked.
Yeah, I don't think they get asked nearly as much as women and femmes do. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah, but I think this is a common question that people ask, because this is, let's say, the society standard. That the society expect that you have to have kids, and I talked about that with Alex Lavedek. That I said that I got my first kid when I turned 39, and this is quite far away from the standard. And the only one who were asking all the time was my mother, asking me all the time and I told her the story that once I was tired about my mother asking me all the time when I'm going to be grandmother from you and so on, and I said to them, because she said to me that she doesn't care, but her friends are asking her all the time. And then I said to my mother, okay, tell your friends that I'm gay, and that's okay. So they will not ask anymore. And my mother said, yeah, but I cannot tell them that because you are not. They say, I don't care. But now no one is asking you anymore. So it's, I'm trying all the time, but I'm not get pregnant. You can tell them that. and that's okay. And she was totally upset. But and then she didn't ask anymore. And that's there was a solution. That's why I can understand when that you're
well, and so here's the thing: is it I don't have anything against having children, but I know a lot of people who have struggled with fertility, and so that question is really painful. Like, why put people through that until you know them and it's like an appropriate venue and time and place to ask that?
Yeah. The thing is that the people always post the picture of the children when they are happy and laughing and you have no problem. And I can tell you this is the third week that we are at home. First one, my son was ill, and then my wife and me were ill. That's why we need to postpone our meeting. Then my daughter got ill, and now my son is again ill. So, and we are for 3 weeks. 2 of them were holidays in Germany, and we
Mm.
couldn't go to any place. So
Oh,
that's the life of being parent. It's not always sunshine,
I've heard that children are germ factories.
and it's expensive too. And you have no time. You have no time. Someone is always killing you, but it's okay. It's okay at the end of the day. I'm happy. I'm a happy father, so it's good. So there are some obligatory questions that we have
Okay.
in this one. Of course, you can say no to the question. That's okay for me too. So, what is your favorite drink?
My favorite drink.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not I do drink alcohol, but not much. So actually my go-to drink is Fresca, which is like it's like a flavored sparkling water almost.
Okay. Well,
I don't know how to explain it. It's sweeter than like a flavored water, but it doesn't have. I don't know how to explain it. It's good, and I can
that's
drink
good.
it and not like drink 700 grams of sugar.
I mean, when we talk about drinks, I mean, it doesn't need to be alcohol because I
Yeah.
think for example, I don't drink that much.
Mhm.
I have a lot of bottle of wines and so on, but I never drink. I drink if I invite someone to my place, or
Yeah.
if maybe in the evening twice in a year. I
Yeah.
open a bottle for my wife and for me, or maybe three a year. But there's no. There are a lot of people that they drink all day,
Mhm.
or every evening. I'm not. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite song at the bar? The song that
Favorite.
brings you to dance?
Ooh. Okay. Um. Carly Jepsen. I really, 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 really like you. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely Carly Rae Jepsen.
Okay, great. So, if you could choose, who would be your favorite person to talk to at the bar?
Favorite person to
Some,
talk to at the bar.
yeah,
It's
in
probably
history, in
not.
the world. Yeah.
eh, Oh, okay. Trying to think.
Jesus.
No, it's like okay, so actually let me give you it's an archetype as opposed to a specific person. My favorite person to talk to at the bar is always the drunk girl.
The drunkle.
Yeah, so like because there is this stage of drunk that you get to where you everybody's your best friend. And that is my favorite person to talk to. So it's
Okay.
like the point where like people who use the women's bathroom know about this. Like there's a whole bunch of girls in the bathroom and potentially like people like me that are like non-binary femmes and it's like, oh my gosh, your shirt is so cute, oh your hair is great, and then it just becomes this big love fest of everybody like telling each other how great they are.
Okay.
And some girl comes in and she's been fighting with her boyfriend and everybody says, you don't need him, he's the worst, ditch that guy, you don't know him, we've never met, you don't even know this guy, but we're there for you. And that is my favorite person to talk to at the bar, is the person who is at that point of drunk.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I know that. I know that. I
That
know
is my
that.
favorite.
Amazing. So I am your bartender tonight. Okay. And what is your confession to make to me?
Oh, oh, yikes. My confession. Um, okay, so the first thing that I do when I get to a hotel room after putting down my luggage is find true crime on TV. It is my
Wow.
comfort.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Wow.
Shout out to Jenny Bramble, who does the same thing.
Yeah. I can imagine. So we are going to see her in a few days.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes. So, what is the best place on earth?
The best place on earth. the best place on earth is wherever I'm with the people I love the most.
Okay.
Not as much a place as a time. It's just because I will tell you, like, I love to travel, and I have a bunch of places and I'm like, this is my favorite place I've ever been. No, that's my favorite place I've ever been. I don't know if there's a best place there, but there are places that are really make me happy. And I'm happiest when the people that I care about most are with me.
Okay. When you were telling that, I got a picture in my mind suddenly, and it describes my table when I cook and I have my friends and my family around me. That's for me the best place where really I do something for it. If we are lucky, it tastes good, and then we drink wine or a beer or water or whatever, and that's the best place for me. Yeah, so that's I got the image at the moment. Yeah, that's quality, no, for the life. So, what is the best way to say bye-bye? Say goodbye.
Oh gosh, it's the long goodbye. It's the goodbye that takes 40 minutes where you hug and you say goodbye, and then, but wait a minute, we got to talk about this thing, and you talk for another 20 minutes, and okay, but I really got to go, and then you hug again, and then it goes on for another 30 minutes, and then finally you say, okay, no, I really do have to leave because my plane's going to take off, and you go. It's the long goodbye.
Okay. This is a typical Spanish bye, because in my family, when so I have a house or a flat in Gran Canaria, and in this building, also 3 cousins of mine are living there, and they're visiting me almost every day, and they're bringing also food and so on, and they and when my wife didn't understand that the culture life in Spain with the family is different than in Germany, so they knock the door maybe at 10 or 11 in the night. Okay, so they go in, and then my wife got surprised that I asked them, do you want to eat something so I can cook for you? So, and this could happen too. And then we talk, and then they said, okay, you need to sleep. So we go out. This is maybe 1 or 1:30 in the morning. And then we open the door, and there in the aisle outside, next to the lift, we are there also for 30, 40 minutes, just saying bye. And my wife, the first time we was there, oh, crazy people, how do you do that? But it's I think this is totally different than here. I mean, here is if you knock at the door and we have an appointment. So we're in Germany. Are you crazy? Why are you knocking at my door? We don't have any appointments here. So, but in Spain, that you don't need any of this. Okay. Thanks so much, Jenna. It was really a pleasure. It was very, very nice.
This was fun, and I can't wait to see you in a week.
Yes, Agile Testing Days is going to be amazing. We are going to be something like 350, 700 people.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be big again, and very nice. And I'm really counting the hours to see the people and to have all of you back, because this is also for me, it's a lot of work, of course. It's a lot of work, but it's also very nice, and also for the team. They have been working this crazy year, and they are the best.
They are. They're awesome.
They are best. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Good night or good evening or good afternoon. Thanks so much. Take care.